I am loving Liverpool. I came a couple days early so I could soak it up, and everyone was like slagging it off. They're like, it's the armpit of England, it's a terrible place.
Great place, great people, great night out, great restaurants, great arena.
Great Beatles.
Yeah, great Beatles, yeah.
So what brings Amir Khan here? We know he's from Bolton, he's huge in London. Why Liverpool?
Just because there hasn't been a major fight night in Liverpool for a while. It's a great fight city. We love the arena. It's 45 minutes from Amir. Amir was going to sell out this fight wherever he was in England. Obviously he hasn't boxed here for 5 years. He's coming off the back of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. You may or may not know.
Yes,
it's a big reality show on terrestrial TV. So with Amir Khan, you're always guaranteed excitement because you never quite know. And I guess the fascination here is, what does he have left? I think that's why a lot of people are tuning in, because we don't know. I don't know the answer. He may have nothing left. He may be better than ever. He may be not quite as good as last time. We're going to find out. And I'm just pleased that we've got someone in the Greco who's had a proper camp, who's got a set of balls, who is thinking to himself, you know what? We've got a chance here. And that's the feeling I get from their team. And Amir's got to be on it. He's got to be really focused. He can't fight on emotion on Saturday night. He's nervous because he hasn't boxed here for a long time. When he walks out, he's going to get the shock of his life because he hasn't witnessed this kind of atmosphere for a long time.
Now, you've told me last time I brought up Brook and Khan that Brook needed to handle his business. It was before that fight. And if Khan handled his business, we definitely see those two in the ring finally for once. All the marbles. Does that fight definitely happen next if Khan is able to be successful Saturday?
I actually think they'll both have another fight in between, because I think Kel wants to get out and fight again in June or July. Amir will have Ramadan, I think, end of May, so he'll box probably end of August. So I see that fight happening in November, December. But I think it has to happen this year. I mean, like, they've both got options. You know, you saw Kel out in America. You know, he's talking about Hearn, he's talking about Charlo, he's talking about wants to fight Errol Spence again. For Amir, you've got Thurman, you've got Spence, you've got Crawford wants to fight with him if he can beat Hearn, you've got Pacquiao if he beats Matisse. But the one that we want to make, and the one that the British fans want to see, is Brook against Khan. And I think it remains the biggest money for them both. So now we're in the same setup. We hope that fight can get made.
What weight does that fight happen at? I mean, we hear Brook saying he wants a rematch with Spence, but he wants Spence to come up. Yeah. We know a heavier Khan is probably a disadvantage for him. How do you make? Do you catch weight in this thing?
Maybe. I mean, I think Amir would want the fight at welterweight. He wants the box at welterweight. This fight's at 150 pounds because he just, you know, it's not a title fight. He just wanted to see where he was at, and but I think his future is at 147. Kel believes he can still make 147. He can make it, that's the truth, but I just think he's a better fighter at 154. But again, that's all part of the negotiations. Who takes what, who gets what weight it's going to be, what colour shorts they're going to wear, you know, who gets what changing room, who goes first on the poster. This is all the fun and games, a big fight negotiation.
You said this fight should happen this year, and we hope it does. But with the biggest fight of the year falling out in Triple G Canelo, that was expected and anticipated to be the hugest fight, you know, coming forth. The only other huge fight has got to be Wilder Joshua. Obviously, we talk about this every time, but the conversation has moved forward. You're being criticized largely in America for the offer.
Only in America. Yeah. Only in America.
Which stands to reason. Yeah. So give me your thinking as to why Wilder only deserves, if this is correct, 12.5 of what they say.
12.5 million.
Yeah.
I've never talked about the offer, by the way, because I don't believe that when we're in negotiations, which we're not anyway, because there's no communication, we're not really in negotiations. But yeah, we made an offer of $12.5 million. I saw the reports of it's a $100 million fight. It's really not. It can get there if both guys are built in America. But at the moment, I would say conservatively, and bear in mind, on one hand I get criticised all the time for being a chartered accountant, and on the other hand I don't know my numbers. So which one do you want me to be? I know my numbers. It does around $40 million, maybe $50 million profit in the show. I'm not talking about generated. Generated something completely different. You've got pay-per-view companies that are generating the money that take splits on the pay-per-view. You've got to pay for arenas, undercards, flights, hotels, doping, everything. So, of call it $40 million to be safe. 12.5 million represents what, 31, 32%? I think that's very fair. Very fair. Because he does not deserve more than that, in my opinion. Because, and then people say, well, you gave Joseph Parker 33%. We didn't, by the way. I'm not sure where that number came from. But still, the offer to Deontay Wilder will be twice as much that Joseph Parker made in the fight. So don't worry about the split. Know this. Deontay Wilder has been offered 5 to 6 times his highest purse to fight Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua won't even make anywhere near double his highest purse to fight AJ. I feel like we're getting penalised for the fact that someone's done a shit job with Deontay Wilder. So it's like, so you've got this guy who's making what, $2.5 million a fight. Oh, he deserves like 25 million. It's like, why? On what basis? He has no profile. He can't sell 10,000 tickets when he fights in a great fight in America. Yet we've got another guy who's making all this money that could just continue doing that in risk-free fights and make that money. And now you're asking our guy to be in the biggest fight in world boxing for a load of risk for what, a little bit more? Like, people really fail to understand the simple economics and the reality and common sense of this situation. One guy is earning $2.5 million. The other guy is making 10 times as much. We've offered him 6 times his highest payday. The other guy's getting the same, maybe 30 or 40% more than he was getting to fight Parker. Like, and people just say, oh, well, just give him the split. No, it don't work like that. Joshua's overpaid his opponents. He's overpaid Charles Martin. He's overpaid, I say that about Klitschko because we got too much respect for him. He's overpaid, like Dillian White got a fortune. He overpaid Brazil. He overpaid Takam. He overpaid Joseph Parker. Why? To get in a position of strength. We ain't doing it again. We're not overpaying Deontay Wilder for this fight.
Knowing that this is a unification bout, knowing the gravity of being able to have one unified, undisputed champion, and knowing that you've been willing to say, take it or leave it before, is this the kind of fight that Joshua and you are willing to walk away from?
Oh, yes.
If Wilder...
100%. 100%. We want this fight. Boxing needs this fight. I work in boxing. It's my job to deliver these fights. But, Raheem, I'll ask you a question. Do we need this fight? Like, just put your common sense hat on. Does Anthony Joshua need this? No, he doesn't. He could go to Dubai, to Nigeria, to China, to Cardiff, to Manchester, and just fight Povetkin, fight Dillian White. We want this fight. Anthony wants this fight. We want history. We want legacy. We may not be able to do this again.
Right. And boxing needs this fight.
It does. But does that mean that we're going to roll over and let you play with our balls while we give Deontay Wilder something he doesn't deserve? No. That's my job. Criticise me. Don't criticise Anthony Joshua. He's a fighter. I'm not doing it. We're going to give Wilder 5, 6 times his highest purse. But it's negotiation. We made that offer 10 days ago. Have we heard back? No. There was supposed to be a counter offer last Wednesday. Have we heard back? No. People don't realise, like, they're not trying to make the fight. So I've reached out to them again. Let's meet in New York next week. I believe they'll say yes. We'll see how we get on. But don't be deluded that they're pushing for this fight. They are not pushing for this fight at all. They've agreed the fight with Dominic Brazil at the Barclays Centre in July. So that's how serious they are about this fight. There's only one guy serious in this fight, and that's Anthony Joshua, and he's proved it time and time again. Stepping up against Martin, where people say, oh, Charles Martin. At the time, like, he was British champion. He was a novice. He stepped up to fight Charles Martin. Brazil, Molina, all right, standard guys. Vladimir Klitschko in his 19th fight. Then Takam. Then another unification against Joseph Parker. I don't know what this kid has to do any more than what he's doing at the moment to prove to people he wants them all. But he hasn't worked this hard. We haven't built this brand. We haven't made him the draw that he is just to give it away to someone because you want the fight. Business don't work like that. I wouldn't expect you to take a job for the money that you ain't worth or that you haven't worked so hard to get. You know? It's not a case of, oh, Raheem, come on, mate. Like, everyone wants you to do it. Go on, son. Oh, fuck it, go on, then I'll do it. Don't work. Life doesn't work like that. And fighting's even harder. You know? I wouldn't do a job if I didn't feel like I was getting the right money. If you want me, and people criticised me the other day for saying, I come out and said, this is a dangerous fight. This is a dangerous fight. Massive risk. If you want massive risk, you need massive reward. And they're like, you're ducking the fight. Like, I'm just telling the truth. Do you not understand that? If I say to you tomorrow, Raheem, see this what you do, throw it away, mate. I've got something else for you. Come on. And you're like, what's that? This is a massive risk, mate. But if you do it, you know, you never know. And look at them, and you say, all right, how much are you going to pay me? Oh well, a little bit more than what you're making at the moment. What? In my comfortable, happy environment, you know? No, if you want me to do this, surely you've got to be paid for it. Well, we're giving one guy 5 or 6 times as much money as he's ever earned, and the other guy's not even making anywhere near double what he's ever earned.
Lastly, on this subject, it doesn't look like this stalemate's going to be resolved anytime immediately soon.
No.
If they've got Brazil and you don't get it next.
I believe they've got Brazil. Yeah, but it has to be in the next 2 fights. Otherwise, it will never happen because we've got Povetkin as a mandatory. They've got Pulev against White, which will be the IBF mandatory eventually. There'll be too much of a mess, and we won't be able to do it.
So if not this one, hopefully if the one after.
Let's do it this one. Let's do it this one.
Who's the runner-up on Joshua's plate if you do have to walk away from
Povetkin? Because he's the mandatory, so we deal with our mandatories. That's a tough fight. That's a dangerous fight, Povetkin. He's no mug. And again, you look at the resume. You know, from Charles Martin, Brazil, who was Joshua's 17th fight, who now, Deontay Wilder, in his 41st fight, is talking about fighting. The same Brazil who Joshua boxed with glandular fever, won every second of every round and stopped him in the 7th round. Molina, Klitschko, Takam, Parker, Povetkin. Look at the resumes. So, if it's not Wilder, it will probably be Povetkin.
Radio Raheem with Eddie Hearn here in Liverpool, breaking it down to the umpteenth degree. We appreciate all the candor and all the detail.
Cheers, mate.
We'll see you on Saturday night for Amir Khan Lo Greco. Radio Raheem with Eddie Hearn.